The medical pod hummed its death song, a sound Ambassador Trell had come to hate over the past 3 weeks. Inside the transparent chamber, his son Kian lay motionless, his crystalline skin the color of ash instead of the vibrant blue it should be. 12 years old and dying from something no doctor in the galaxy could identify or cure. Trell pressed his three-fingered hand against the pod's surface. The glass felt cold, just like the hope draining from his chest. Around him, the Galactic Medical Consortium's finest facility buzzed with activity, but none of it mattered anymore. 6 different medical teams had tried everything. Nothing worked. Ambassador, I need you to understand the situation. Dr. Wessick approached, his 6 arms folding in a gesture of finality. The Velkshan physician had treated royalty from 40-star systems. His reputation was flawless. Your son's organs are shutting down. The toxin he encountered on that frontier world is unlike anything in our databases. We've attempted nanite reconstruction, gene recoding, even quantum cellular repair. His body rejects everything. There must be something, Trell said, his voice breaking. Somewhere in this galaxy, someone must know what to do. Dr. Wessick's multiple eyes dimmed with sympathy. I've consulted with colleagues across 12 sectors. The answer is the same everywhere. I am Sore, Ambassador. You should prepare yourself. He has perhaps 2 days remaining. 2 days. Trell looked at his son, remembering the boy's laughter just a month ago. They had been visiting a potential colony world, meeting with settlers, discussing trade agreements. Kian had been excited, running ahead on the path, touching plants, exploring like children do. Then he collapsed. By the time they got him to medical care, the damage was spreading through his system like fire through dry grass. Father, a weak voice came from the pod speakers. Kian's eyes had opened slightly. It hurts. Trell's composure shattered. He leaned close to the pod, fighting tears. I know, my brave one. The doctors are doing everything they can. They can't fix it, Kian whispered. I heard them talking. It's okay, Father. I'm not scared anymore. Those words destroyed Trell more than any diagnosis. His 12-year-old son accepting death with more grace than a trained diplomat. He turned away, unable to let Kian see him break down completely. The young medical technician named Ro approached hesitantly. She had been monitoring Kian's vitals for the past week, always gentle with the boy, always kind. Ambassador, I know this is not my place to speak, but I heard something recently. Dr. Wessick frowned at her. Ro, the ambassador doesn't need false hope. Please, Trell said. Anything. I'll try anything. Ro glanced nervously at her superior before continuing. The humans, sir. I have a friend who works at their embassy. She mentioned that human medical approaches are different from ours. They come from a death world. You see, their planet has thousands of biological threats, and their medicine evolved to handle unknown pathogens differently than we do. The humans? Dr. Wessick laughed, a harsh sound. They've been part of the consortium for barely 5 years. Their technology is primitive compared to ours. Their understanding of advanced medicine is elementary at best. But their world created them to survive impossible things, Ro insisted. Maybe they know something we don't about fighting unknown toxins. Trell looked back at his son. 2 days. What did he have to lose? Get me in contact with the human embassy. Now. Dr. Wessick began to protest, but Trell silenced him with a raised hand. You've done everything you can, Doctor, and I'm grateful. But my son is dying, and I will exhaust every possibility before I accept that. 3 hours later, Trell sat in a private communication room, staring at a video screen. The human woman who appeared looked tired, like she had been woken from sleep. She had brown hair pulled back in a simple tie and wore casual clothing, not a medical uniform. Ambassador Trell? I'm Rebecca Walsh, medical liaison at the human embassy. Your message said this was urgent. Trell explained everything rapidly, desperately. The toxin, the failure of all treatments, his son's deteriorating condition. Rebecca listened carefully, her expression growing more serious with each detail. I need to be honest with you, Ambassador, she said when he finished. I'm not a doctor. I'm a registered nurse with trauma experience, but I haven't practiced clinical medicine in 3 years. I coordinate medical information between our embassy and the consortium. That's all. Trell felt his last hope crumbling. I see. Thank you for your time. Wait. Rebecca held up her hand. I said I'm not a doctor. I didn't say I wouldn't help. She paused, and Trell saw something shift in her eyes. A determination that reminded him of soldiers going into battle. I have 2 children of my own, Ambassador. A boy and a girl. If either of them were dying, and someone told me there was even a small chance to save them, I'd take it. I imagine you feel the same way. I do, Trell said quietly. Then I'll come. I can't promise anything. I don't have advanced degrees or fancy equipment. But I've sat beside sick children before, and I've seen some of them pull through when everyone said they wouldn't. Sometimes it's not about the technology. Sometimes it's about not giving up. How soon can you be here? Rebecca was already moving, grabbing a bag from somewhere off-screen. Give me 2 hours. An ambassador? I'm going to need you to trust me completely, even if what I do seems too simple or too strange. Can you do that? Trell looked through the doorway at the medical bay where his son lay dying. Yes, I can do that. Good. I'll see you soon. The screen went dark. Trell returned to Kian's bedside. His son was unconscious again, the monitors showing vital signs that dropped a little more each hour. He took the boy's hand carefully, mindful of the 4 lines. Hold on just a little longer, he whispered. Help is coming. Rebecca walked through the sliding doors of the medical facility, carrying nothing but a worn travel bag. The corridors gleamed with technology she barely understood, walls displaying vital signs and medical data in languages she couldn't read. Alien medical staff stopped to stare at her, their various eyes and sensory organs tracking her movement with obvious skepticism. Dr. Wessick met her in the main corridor, his 6 arms crossed in a posture that clearly communicated displeasure. Behind him stood 3 other physicians from different species, all watching her with the same doubtful expression. You're the human, Dr. Wessick asked, his tone making it sound like an insult. Rebecca Walsh, she said, extending her hand. When he didn't take it, she lowered it without embarrassment. Where's the patient? This way. Though I must tell you, I consider this a waste of precious time. The boy has perhaps 30 hours left, and we should be making him comfortable, not subjecting him to primitive experiments. Rebecca stopped walking. She turned to face the doctor directly, her voice calm but firm. That boy has a name. It's Kian, and he has a father who loves him. If you've given up on him, that's your choice, but I haven't even met him yet, so maybe we can save the funeral talk until after I've actually examined him. Dr. Wessick's eyes widened slightly. None of the other physicians had ever spoken to him that way. He made a gesture that might have been approval or might have been irritation. Rebecca couldn't tell which. The medical bay was impressive by any standard. Machines Rebecca had no name for surrounded a transparent pod where a small figure lay still. The boy's skin had a crystalline quality, but instead of the healthy blue color Trell had described, it looked gray and dull. Ambassador Trell stood beside the pod, and when he saw Rebecca, his expression shifted from despair to desperate hope. Thank you for coming, he said. Rebecca approached the pod, studying Kian through the glass. She pulled a small device from her bag, something the alien doctors recognized as a primitive scanning tool, barely more advanced than their ancestors had used millennia ago. She ran it over the pod's exterior, reading the basic vital signs displayed on her device. What are his symptoms? She asked the doctor. Wessick gestured to a massive holographic display. Organ failure across all major systems. Cellular breakdown at the molecular level. Immune system completely overwhelmed. Toxin of unknown origin attacking neural pathways, and I meant symptoms I can see, Rebecca interrupted. Is he in pain? Is he conscious? Can he breathe on his own? Basic things. The doctors exchanged glances. Dr. Wessick spoke slowly, as if explaining to a child. We've moved beyond such primitive observations. Our quantum scanners can detect cellular distress at levels invisible to basic examination. That's great, Rebecca said. But I asked if he's in pain. A Velkshan nurse stepped forward. Yes. He experiences significant discomfort, particularly in his chest and abdomen. We've administered pain relief, but it only helps moderately. Thank you. Rebecca turned to Trell. I need to examine him directly. Can we open the pod? Absolutely not, Dr. Wessex said immediately. The sterile environment is essential for... The sterile environment is doing nothing to save him, Rebecca said flatly. You said so yourself. 30 hours, right? So what exactly are we protecting at this point? Trell moved to the pod's control panel. Open it. Ambassador, I must protest. Open it, Trell repeated, his voice carrying the weight of authority. The pod hissed as it unsealed. Rebecca stepped forward, and for the first time, she was close enough to really see Kian. He was small for 12, his breathing shallow and labored. His eyes were closed, but she could see them moving beneath the lids, trapped in uncomfortable sleep. She reached out and gently touched his forehead. His skin felt hot, fever burning through him. She checked his pulse at his neck, counted his breathing rate, examined the color of his fingernails and lips. All basic observations that the advanced scanners had made irrelevant, or so the doctors thought. When did the fever start? She asked. The doctors looked confused. Fever. Dr. Wessex checked his displays. His temperature is elevated, but that's a symptom of the cellular breakdown, not a fever response. It's a fever, Rebecca said. His body is fighting the toxin. Look at how he's breathing, the pattern of his pulse. This isn't just shut down. He's in a battle. She pulled more items from her bag. Simple 4 bags filled with clear liquid. Basic monitoring equipment that looked ancient compared to the room's technology. A thermometer that actually required physical contact to work. What are you doing? Dr. Wessex demanded. I'm going to try something that might seem crazy to you, Rebecca said, setting up her equipment. I'm going to stop fighting his fever and let it burn. I'm going to hydrate him and keep his electrolytes balanced. I'm going to monitor him constantly and make tiny adjustments based on what I see, not what machines tell me. And I'm going to stay right here with him until either he gets better or... She paused. Or until we know for certain that nothing else can be done. This is absurd, Dr. Wessex said. You're proposing to do nothing. Just basic supportive care. We've moved beyond such primitive approaches because they don't work against advanced threats. Rebecca looked at him steadily. You're right. I am proposing basic supportive care. Because sometimes that's exactly what a body needs. Time and support to heal itself. Your advanced treatments keep trying to fix things, but maybe they're also preventing his body from doing what it evolved to do, which is fight. His body is losing the fight, another doctor pointed out. Maybe because nobody's giving it the right support. Rebecca turned to Trell. I need your permission to try this. It's risky. His fever might go higher before it breaks. He might get worse before he gets better. The next 48 hours will be hard to watch. But I've seen this approach work when nothing else would. Trell looked at his unconscious son, then at the doctors who had run out of options, then back at Rebecca. Do it. Rebecca dimmed the harsh medical lights, replacing them with softer illumination that wouldn't strain Kian's eyes if he woke. The change made several doctors mutter in disapproval, but she ignored them. She had worked enough night shifts in emergency rooms to know that healing happened better in calm environments, not under glaring lights that felt like interrogation rooms. She set up her 4-drip, using simple saline solution mixed with basic electrolytes. Nothing fancy, nothing advanced, just the fundamental fluids a body needed. Her monitoring equipment looked like museum pieces compared to the quantum scanners around her, but it told her what she needed to know. Heart rate, temperature, breathing patterns, blood oxygen levels. The basics never lied. Kian's temperature climbed higher. Rebecca watched it rise past what galactic medicine considered safe levels, but she didn't intervene. She had seen this before in human children fighting severe infections. The fever was a weapon, burning out the invader. She just had to make sure it didn't burn out the patient too. His temperature is reaching critical levels, Dr. Wessex announced from the observation window. You're going to cause brain damage. His brain is fine, Rebecca said, checking Kian's neural responses. I'm watching him. Trust me. Trust you. Dr. Wessex's voice rose. You're gambling with a child's life based on primitive intuition. Rebecca didn't bother responding. She soaked a cloth in cool water and gently wiped Kian's forehead, his neck, behind his crystalline ears. The technique was ancient, older than space travel, older than computers. Just a caregiver trying to make a sick child more comfortable. Trell sat in a chair beside his son's bed, watching everything Rebecca did. "Why are you singing?" he asked quietly. Rebecca hadn't realized she was humming. "Saw the old habit. My grandmother used to sing to me when I was sick. She said it helped the medicine work better. I know it sounds silly. What are the words?" Rebecca sang softly, an old lullaby about stars and sleep and morning coming after the longest nights. The words were in English, which Trell didn't understand, but the melody was gentle and calm. Around them, the medical equipment beeped its rhythm, and Rebecca's voice wove through the sounds like a thread of humanity in this alien place. Kian stirred slightly. His eyes didn't open, but his breathing changed, became less labored for a moment before returning to its previous pattern. Rebecca noticed immediately, adjusting the flow slightly, checking his temperature again. "Did you see that?" Trell asked. "He responded to the song," Rebecca said. "Somewhere in there. He heard it and found it comforting." "That's good. That means he's still fighting." The hours crawled past. Rebecca never left Kian's side. She adjusted his blankets, monitored his vitals, administered careful doses of pain medication when his discomfort showed in his vital patterns. She kept talking to him, telling him stories about Earth, about her own children, about anything that might reach through the fog of illness and give him something to hold on to. Trell brought her food, which she ate without really tasting. He brought her water, which she drank automatically. He offered to take over watching so she could rest, but she shook her head. "I've pulled longer shifts than this in emergency rooms," she said. "I am okay." But she wasn't entirely okay. Around hour 20, Kian's condition took a sharp downturn. His breathing became ragged, his heart rate spiking erratically. The monitors screamed warnings, and Dr. Wessick rushed in with his team. "His heart is failing," the doctor said. "We need to intervene now, or he'll die." "No," Rebecca said firmly, her hands already on Kian's chest. "His heart isn't failing. It's stressed. There's a difference." She began chest compressions, her hands pressing rhythmically on Kian's small sternum. The technique was crude by galactic standards, manually forcing the heart to pump when it struggled. But it worked. After 30 compressions, Kian's heart found its rhythm again, settling into a steadier pattern. Dr. Wessick stared. "You just performed manual cardiac massage. We haven't used that technique in over 1,000 years. It's considered barbaric." "It kept him alive," Rebecca said, breathing hard from the exertion. "That's all that matters." The crisis passed, but Rebecca knew another could come at any moment. She stayed vigilant, her exhaustion pushed aside by sheer determination. She had lost her eldest child to illness 5 years ago, a memory that still woke her at night. She hadn't been able to save her own daughter, but she could save this boy. She had to. Trell watched her with something like awe. "Why are you doing this? You don't know us. Kian is nothing to you." Rebecca looked at him, then at Kian. "He's a child. That's everything to me. I don't care what species he is or where he's from. I see a sick kid who needs help, and I can't walk away from that, even though you might fail, especially then, because if I don't try my absolute hardest, I'll never forgive myself." At hour 36, something changed. Kian's fever, which had been climbing dangerously high, stabilized. It didn't drop yet, but it stopped rising. His breathing, while still labored, developed a more regular pattern. The monitors showed subtle improvements in organ function, small enough that the galactic doctors dismissed them as statistical noise, but Rebecca saw them as victories. She leaned close to Kian, speaking directly to him even though he seemed unconscious. "That's it, sweetheart. You're doing so well. Keep fighting. Your dad is right here, and he loves you so much. We're all fighting with you. You're not alone." Kian's hand twitched. Just a small movement, but it was the first voluntary motion he had made in days. Trell gasped, reaching for his son's hand. "Kian, can you hear us?" No response, but the hand moved again, fingers curling slightly as if trying to grip something that wasn't there. Rebecca placed her hand in his, and his fingers wrapped weakly around hers. "I'm here," she whispered. "We're all here. You're going to be okay." She didn't know if that was true, but she believed it with everything she had, and sometimes belief was its own kind of medicine. Kian's eyes opened slowly, like shutters being raised after a long storm. The first thing he saw was a ceiling he didn't recognize, then unfamiliar equipment, then a face he had never seen before. A human woman with tired eyes and a gentle smile, sitting beside his bed with her hand holding his. "Welcome back," Rebecca said softly. "Who are you?" Kian's voice came out as a whisper, rough from disuse. "My name is Rebecca. I'm a friend. Your father is right here." She gestured to where Trell had fallen asleep in a chair, his head resting at an awkward angle against the wall. Kian tried to sit up, but his body felt wrong, weak and shaky. Rebecca helped him, adjusting pillows behind his back with practiced efficiency. "Easy now. You've been very sick. Your body needs time to remember how to work properly." "How long?" "For days since I arrived. You were sick for weeks before that." Kian looked at his father, at the deep exhaustion carved into every line of Trell's face, even in sleep. "I almost died, didn't I?" Rebecca didn't lie to him. "Yes, you came very close. But you're still here, and that's what matters. Because of you." "Because of you," Rebecca corrected. "Your body did the fighting. I just made sure you had what you needed for the battle." She reached into a bag and pulled out something orange and round. "Are you hungry? This is called an orange. It's a fruit from my planet." Kian watched with fascination as she peeled it, revealing segments of bright fruit inside. She handed him a piece, and he put it cautiously in his mouth. The taste exploded across his tongue, sweet and tangy and completely unlike anything he had eaten before. "It's good," he said, surprised. "Humans are very fond of oranges. They're full of vitamins that help sick people get better." She shared the fruit with him, piece by piece, while telling him about Earth and its strange abundance of different foods. Trell woke to the sound of his son's laughter, a sound he had thought he would never hear again. He jumped from his chair, so quickly he nearly fell, rushing to Kian's bedside. "Kian, you're awake. You're talking." "Father, Rebecca says her planet has oceans made of salt water." "Can you imagine? Salt water everywhere." Trell looked at Rebecca, tears streaming down his face, unable to speak. She smiled at him and quietly excused herself, giving them privacy for their reunion. Outside the medical bay, she found Dr. Wessick waiting with a crowd of other physicians. They had been monitoring everything from their observation posts, watching the impossible become real. "How did you do it?" Dr. Wessick asked, and for the first time, his voice held no condescension. "Our scanners show his immune system developed antibodies to the toxin. His organs are regenerating. All we did was provide basic hydration and temperature management. There is no advanced intervention, no technological solution, just simple care." "How did that work when everything else failed?" Rebecca leaned against the wall, exhaustion finally catching up with her. "You treated the disease. I treated the patient. Your technology tried to fix what was broken, which is good, that's important. But sometimes fixing things means interfering with the body's natural healing processes. I gave Kian's immune system the support it needed and the space to do what it evolved to do, which is fight. His body knew how to survive. It just needed someone to believe in it. But the fever," another doctor said, "you let it climb to dangerous levels. You risked permanent damage. I monitored him every second. I knew how high was too high, and I was ready to intervene if necessary." The fever was his weapon against the toxin. Taking that weapon away would have left him defenseless. Rebecca rubbed her eyes. "Look, I don't have all the answers. I'm not claiming my way is better than yours. But sometimes, when you've tried everything complex, the simple solution is all that's left." News of Kian's recovery spread through the medical facility, then throughout the consortium networks. Within hours, Rebecca received messages from dozens of worlds. Other cases, other dying patients, other families desperate for hope. One message in particular caught her attention: a Taurian child, a girl named Scylla, was dying from a similar unknown toxin on a colony world 3 systems away. The consortium's best doctors had tried everything. Nothing worked. The family was asking specifically for the human who saved Prince Kian. Rebecca read the message 3 times. She thought about her own children back on Earth, waiting for her to come home. She thought about her comfortable job as a medical liaison, shuffling paperwork and coordinating information. She thought about how much easier it would be to say no, to return to her normal life and let galactic medicine handle galactic problems. Then she thought about Kian's hand gripping hers, fighting to live. She thought about Trell's tears of joy. She thought about her daughter who didn't survive and all the other children who might. She found Trell in Kian's room. Father and son were looking at pictures of Earth on a display screen, Kian excitedly pointing at mountains and forests and cities. "I need to go," Rebecca said. "Another child needs help." Trell stood. "Of course. Whatever you need, supplies, transportation, anything." "Father, can I go with her?" Kian asked suddenly. "Absolutely not. You're still recovering. Please, I want to help. I want to meet the other child who's sick like I was." Kian looked at Rebecca. "You stayed with me. You didn't give up. I want to do that for someone else." Rebecca considered this. It won't be easy to watch. Scylla might not make it. Even with the same treatment, every patient is different. "I know," Kian said, "but you'll be there, so she won't be alone. And maybe seeing me will give her hope. Show her that survival is possible." Trell looked between his son and Rebecca, seeing a determination in Kian's eyes that reminded him of the boy before the illness, full of life and purpose. "If Rebecca agrees, and if you promise to rest during the journey, you can go." Rebecca nodded slowly. "Okay, but we leave in 6 hours. That gives you time to rest and eat properly." "Deal, deal." As Rebecca packed her medical bag, adding a few supplies the facility provided, a young Eldari nurse named Priya approached her. "Can I come with you?" Priya asked. "I want to learn your techniques. Our medical schools never taught us to care for patients the way you do. They taught us to manage systems and operate technology, but not to see the person inside the illness." Rebecca smiled. "I could use an assistant. Welcome to the team." 6 months changed everything. Rebecca stood in front of a classroom filled with alien medical students from 20 different species, each watching her with an intensity that still felt strange after half a year of teaching. The former medical bay where Kian had recovered was now the Integrated Care Training Center, a name Rebecca found too formal but hadn't been able to change. "The key to understanding human medical philosophy," she said, "is remembering that technology should serve the patient, not replace judgment. Your scanners are incredible. They can detect problems at molecular levels I can barely comprehend. But they can't tell you if a patient is scared or lonely or losing hope. Those things matter just as much as cellular function." A student with 4 eyes and blue skin raised a hand. "But Professor Walsh, how do we measure hope? How do we quantify emotional states in treatment plans?" Rebecca smiled. She had been called Professor Walsh for 3 months now, though she still thought of herself as just a nurse. "You don't measure it. You recognize it. You learn to read body language, to listen to what patients aren't saying, to notice small changes in behavior. It takes practice and attention, but it's possible." Her teaching assistant, Priya, pulled up a hologram showing vital signs from 17 cases Rebecca's team had treated. "We've documented our success rate. 14 survivors out of 17 cases that galactic medicine had declared hopeless. Some lived because of the treatment approach. Some lived because having someone at their bedside who refused to give up gave them the will to keep fighting. And the 3 who didn't survive," another student asked quietly that Rebecca's expression grew solemn. "We talk about them too, because failure teaches us just as much as success. Not every patient can be saved, no matter how hard we try. But every patient deserves our best effort and our compassion." The 3 we lost died, knowing they weren't alone, and their families had support through the grief. That matters. After class, Rebecca found Dr. Wessick waiting in her office. The Velkshan physician had undergone a transformation over the past months. He had requested to join Rebecca's program as a student after Kian's recovery, publicly admitting that his certainty about medical advancement had blinded him to simpler truths. "We have a problem," he said, his 6 arms holding data tablets. "The Conservative Medical Coalition is pushing for new legislation. They want to ban human involvement in galactic healthcare." Rebecca sat down heavily. "On what grounds?" "They claim humans lack the technological sophistication for modern medicine. They're arguing that our success rate is an anomaly, that we're giving false hope to families." But mostly, Wessex added, they're afraid of change. If simple, compassionate care works, it challenges centuries of their medical philosophy and threatens their power. What does the consortium say? Split decision. Some support the coalition. Others, especially those whose children we've saved, oppose it strongly. Ambassador Trell is leading the opposition, but it's going to be close. Wessex set down his tablets. There's something else. A plague has broken out on Mining Colony 7. 60 cases so far, 47 of them children. Their medical team tried advanced treatments first per protocol. Nothing worked. Now, the colony is under quarantine, and the conservative coalition has specifically forbidden human medical intervention. Rebecca stood abruptly. Children are dying, and they're playing politics. The coalition says allowing you to help would set a precedent they can't accept. They'd rather let the situation resolve naturally than admit their approach might be incomplete. Resolve naturally means watching children die. Rebecca paced her small office. How long do the children have? Days, maybe a week. Can we get there in time? Wessex looked at her carefully. If we left now and ignored the travel ban, yes. But it would mean civil disobedience. Breaking consortium law. You could face imprisonment, lose your teaching position, be banned from medical practice across all member worlds. Rebecca thought about her own children safe back on Earth with their father. She thought about the classroom full of students learning to care for patients as people, not just medical problems. She thought about everything she had built over 6 months. Then she thought about 47 children gasping for air while adults argued about jurisdiction. Give me a ship, she said. Rebecca, think about this. Your work here is important. If you're arrested, who will continue teaching integrated care? You will. Priya will. The students will. I've taught you everything I know. But right now, there are children who need immediate help, and I can't sit in a classroom knowing they're dying while I do nothing. She grabbed her medical bag, the same worn travel bag she had carried to save Kian. Are you coming? Wessex's multiple eyes blinked in what might have been surprise or respect. Of course I'm coming. Someone needs to document this for the medical journals, assuming we're not in prison. They found Priya coordinating student schedules. When Rebecca explained the situation, the young Eldari nurse didn't hesitate. I'll gather supplies and alert the others. How many team members do we need? As many as will come, Rebecca said. 0.8 medical staff volunteered immediately. 2 humans from Rebecca's original embassy team, 3 Eldari nurses who had trained under Priya, and 3 physicians from different species who had joined the integrated care program. They loaded medical supplies onto a private transport vessel Trell provided, working quickly before authorities could stop them. Kian appeared in the cargo bay as they prepared to launch. Now fully recovered, he looked healthier than ever, his crystalline skin bright blue and his eyes sharp with intelligence. I'm coming too. No, Rebecca and Trell said simultaneously. I'm not asking permission, Father. I'm 12, not a baby. I survived because Rebecca helped me. Now other children need the same help. I can assist, translate for the team, comfort the other patients. I know what it's like to be that sick and that scared. Trell looked anguished. If you're caught helping break consortium law, then I'll face the consequences with everyone else. The Eldari people believe in duty above comfort. Remember? You taught me that. Kian climbed aboard the ship before his father could protest further. As the transport lifted off, Rebecca watched the planet shrink below them. Ahead lay uncertain consequences, possible imprisonment, and the hardest medical challenge yet. Behind her, a team of dedicated caregivers prepared their equipment and reviewed patient data transmitted from the mining colony. No turning back now, Wessex observed. Rebecca checked her supplies one final time. There never was. The mining colony looked worse than Rebecca expected. Prefabricated buildings clustered around excavation sites, everything covered in red dust from the planet's iron-rich soil. Security forces waited at the landing pad, weapons drawn, ready to enforce the quarantine and arrest anyone who violated it. But they didn't expect several hundred miners to be waiting too. When Rebecca's transport touched down, the miners formed a wall between the ship and security, creating a human shield that no officer wanted to cross. Let them through, a large Taurian miner shouted. Our children are dying. We don't care what the consortium says. The security captain, a disciplined Velkshan officer, activated his communicator. This is Captain Brell. Illegal landing in progress. Request instructions. While he waited for orders, Rebecca and her team disembarked. The miners opened a path, and she could see the makeshift medical center ahead, a converted storage facility that was never meant to house this many sick children. Brell stepped forward, blocking her path. You're under arrest for violating quarantine protocols and defying consortium medical authority. Arrest me after we save the children, Rebecca said calmly. I'm not going anywhere. You know where to find me. I have orders to prevent you from entering that facility. A miner woman pushed forward, tears streaming down her face. My daughter is in there. She's 8 years old. Please, whatever laws we're breaking, arrest us all later, but let them help now. Brell looked at his communicator, which remained silent. No instructions came from consortium authority because they couldn't decide what to do. He looked at the miners, at Rebecca's team, at the medical center where children were dying. I didn't see you land, he said finally, stepping aside. I was inspecting the western perimeter when an unauthorized ship apparently touched down here. I'll investigate after I complete my patrol. Rebecca nodded her thanks and ran for the medical center. Inside, the scene was chaos. 47 children on makeshift beds, medical staff overwhelmed and exhausted, parents sitting vigil beside small bodies that struggled to breathe. The plague attacked respiratory systems, filling lungs with fluid while simultaneously preventing the body from absorbing oxygen properly. We need to set up stations, Rebecca called to her team. Wessex, assess the worst cases. Priya, organize families into support groups. Everyone else, start basic supportive care. For fluids, oxygen support, temperature management. Kian, I need you to talk to the children who are conscious. Tell them your story. Give them hope. The team moved like a coordinated unit, their 6 months of training evident in every action. They didn't waste time with complex diagnostics. They provided immediate relief for suffering, stabilized critical cases, and gave each child the attention advanced medicine had forgotten was necessary. Rebecca found the Taurian girl, Scylla, in a worse condition. The 8-year-old's breathing was shallow, her lips turning blue from oxygen deprivation. Rebecca set up a simple oxygen mask, adjusted the flow, and began clearing fluid from the child's lungs using basic suction equipment. Scylla's mother watched with desperate hope. Will she live? I don't know, Rebecca answered honestly. But I'm going to fight for her like she's my own daughter. That's a promise. For 3 days, Rebecca and her team worked without rest. They rotated shifts, supporting each other when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm them. Kian moved between beds, telling his story of survival, showing the sick children that recovery was possible. Slowly, miraculously, children began to improve. The simple interventions worked, keeping airways clear, maintaining hydration, supporting the body while it fought the infection. 20 children recovered in the first 2 days. Then 30. Then 40. Outside, the standoff continued. More security forces arrived, but more miners gathered too. Galactic media broadcast everything, and public opinion shifted dramatically. Parents across the galaxy watched human medical teams save children after advanced medicine had failed. The conservative coalition's political support crumbled. On the 4th day, Scylla opened her eyes. Rebecca was sleeping in a chair beside her bed, having refused to leave the child's side during the worst crisis. Scylla's mother gently shook Rebecca awake. She's breathing on her own, the mother whispered. Look, Rebecca checked Scylla's oxygen levels, her vital signs, her lung function. Everything had improved dramatically. The 8-year-old smiled weakly at her. You stayed, Scylla said. Of course I stayed. I promised your mother I would fight for you. Rebecca brushed hair from the child's forehead. You did the hard part, though. You fought harder than anyone I've ever seen. By the end of the week, all 47 children had survived. Not one death. The mining colony celebrated, while consortium authorities struggled to respond. They couldn't arrest the team that had just saved dozens of children on live broadcasts viewed by billions. Ambassador Trell arrived with a delegation. The conservative coalition has dissolved. The consortium has officially adopted integrated care as standard medical protocol across all member worlds. You're not facing charges. You're facing awards. Rebecca stood in the medical center, surrounded by recovering children and exhausted team members who had risked everything to do what was right. I don't want awards. I want this to be normal. I want every sick child in the galaxy to have someone who stays with them, who fights for them, who treats them like they matter. That's what we're building, Trell assured her. Training centers on 50 worlds. Medical exchange programs. Your team will lead the transition. Dr. Wessick approached, carrying official documents. The consortium wants to establish the Integrated Medical Institute. They want you to direct it. Rebecca looked around at her team, at the children who were laughing and playing despite their recent brush with death, at Kian helping a Torian boy walk for the first time in days. I'll do it on one condition, she said. This isn't about humans teaching aliens. It's about everyone learning from each other. Technology and compassion together. Can the consortium accept that? After what we've seen here, they don't have a choice. 3 months later, the Integrated Medical Institute opened on a neutral world. The entrance hall featured a simple photograph. Rebecca holding Kian's hand during his recovery, both smiling. Below it, a plaque read, "Advanced technology saves bodies. Compassionate presence heals souls." We need both. Rebecca taught her first class in a new facility to 200 students from across the galaxy. She began the same way she always did, with a simple truth. Every patient you treat is someone's child, parent, or friend. Treat them like you'd want your loved ones treated. That's not primitive medicine. That's the foundation everything else should be built on. In the back row, Kian sat with Scylla and a dozen other children they had saved. They had recovered and thrived, living proof that sometimes the most advanced medicine in the universe was the touch of a caring hand and the presence of someone who refused to give up.